Test, test, test. Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. The water, Akia. Yabashim El Shabrakatah. All right, Shalom, Shalom. So I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and the sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwathium, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. All right, Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers, and Akwathium is sisters. And Shalom means peace. All right, Shabbat Shalom, because today is the Sabbath. All right, so I want to go into a lesson through the spirit, a few videos that I have concerning, as you can see the title, he Causeth All. All right, because what we're entering into is a system. All right, when you deal with the beast is not one man, it's a system. All right, and that's why every president, all right, for the most part, moves with the same agenda. All right, it's all about this system. All right, and that's why, beginning with our apostles on down, the push has been to push prophecy. All right. And one of the major prophecies of the scriptures is the mark. All right. You have to understand the mark. And in order to understand that, you have to understand the beast and the system. All right. This is the revived Roman Empire. All right. We're going to go through a couple of videos that I have through the spirit. I'll share the links in the chat. If I forget to put it in the description, remind me after the lesson. But I just want to hit a couple benchmarks on these videos, all right, because it's very edifying, all right, and I want to bring out the scriptures with it, all right. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm gonna start it off.
Everybody can see what is going on with our neighbors up north right now, despite the media's attempt at distracting people from it. And even though many hoped that elected officials would come to their senses about tyranny, instead they voted in favor of what could turn out to be the beginning of their end, because systems cannot support the weight of tyranny. And everyone who can is right now attempting to get their wealth out. And that is the key. Right now, some of the wealth still has a chance to escape, because today, complete financial repression is not possible. But all of that changes with a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. So in this video, I'm going to explain very simply exactly what a central bank digital currency is, why governments so desperately want it, and every way that it is very different from the system we have today, terrifyingly different, because a CBDC grants totalitarian control to anybody who wields it. And as the Rothschilds said, let me control a nation's money, and I do not care who writes the laws. Ready? Let's dive in.
All right, so what we heard from that intro, because we're not going to watch the entire video, but what we heard from that intro is exactly what our elders and apostles have been saying since the beginning. All right, when you deal with the system that we're in, all right, they were talking about the chip when it was science fiction to most of our people. All right, now we're in a time where these things are being made evident. All right, and this guy, all right, I believe he's a financial guy. He deals with stocks and investments. All right, but as of late, he's been going into these type of subjects. All right, and how the central bank digital currency is going to destroy freedom. All right, now he goes into an explanation of how the banking system started. All right, and we're going to skip through that. All right, because again, for those who don't know, money was backed by gold at one point, and eventually that system fell through. Nixon took us off the dollar, off the gold standard. All right, and then eventually you got this fiat currency system. What we live in now is a fiat system, similar to Rome. All right, it's a system where you just let it be. It's as is. All right, it's not really backed by anything. Now, what this transition is about to do is it's basically about to take that fiat currency digital. It's still not backed by anything. But what you're giving in exchange for this new digital currency is your freedom. And that's why he said how freedom dies, because when you deal with the central bank currency, you can control what people can and can't buy. It's like your credit card only being programmed for 7-Elevens. This is why the Lord told us not to deal with it. Now, we understand through prophecy that the central bank digital currency is eventually going to transition from a app on your wallet or your phone, all right, to an actual incision. But this is the infrastructure. This is the system around the eventual incision that they're going to make everyone take. All right, so before I get the rest of this video, I want to go to the scriptures. All right, so this is Revelation chapter 13, all right, and 15. And the reason he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right, so anybody who doesn't reverence this system, all right, anybody who doesn't speak the same thing as this system, they're going to be killed. Now that involves brothers being martyred, all right, people being physically killed, but there's also another way that they can kill you, all right? Now, when you go into the root word of this word, it says to kill in any way, whatever. All right, to destroy, to allow to perish. All right, to extinguish, abolish. All right, now when you go into the root word, it says this of separation. So if you don't have this digital system, and eventually they're going to put it inside of you, all right, because that's going to give them complete control. Not only can they control your transactions, but now they can locate you. And if they wanted to, they could physically harm you with the push of a button. All right. Now, when you deal with this, it says of separation. All right. When you go to part B, it says of separation of a part from the whole. So if you don't reverence this system, eventually you're going to be ostracized. All right. And this is what the central bank digital currency is in essence is going to do. Now, eventually it's going to go from wallets or apps on your phone to a physical incision. All right. And we understand that, we know that to be true through the spirit. All right. As the scriptures say, the just shall live by faith. All right. So I want to hit the main point of his video. All right. And it's around a 3-minute 47-second mark. So I'm just going to go back to that video and get that meat off this bone.
Last year, more millionaires.
As bad as a system as this is, a central bank digital currency is exponentially worse. Not only is it worse, it is categorically different. And it is where we as people need to draw the line in the sand. Now, all lines are arbitrary in some sense, but if this one is crossed, most likely the only way out or back out of it is with complete systemic collapse. Remember how I said in the past, you gave your gold to the bank and the bank had its own gold account with the central bank? It's the same today, although not with gold. You have an account with your bank and the bank still has an account with the central bank. A central bank digital currency, on the other hand, bypasses, nationalizes, restructures, and renders obsolete the current traditional banking system. Every individual and every business will have a wallet or an account directly with the central bank. Instead of opening up your Chase app or your Bank of America app, you'll open up your Fed Wallet app. Now, why is this so radically different and so intensely dangerous? Because the central bank maintains a legal monopoly on the creation and the destruction of a nation's currency. Now, that power is already the most dangerous power on earth today. Pair that with the ability to directly control every transaction and account of every individual and business, concentrated and isolated among a couple dozen unelected ivory tower bureaucrats. I cannot express enough how terrified everybody in the world should be of this. The entire purpose of a central bank digital currency is to give more control over how much money exists and exactly where that money exists. This money is programmable to allow a level of fine-tuning and scalpel-like economic policy making at a degree never before seen. Right now, the central bank has to rely on bank lending and government deficit spending in order to insert new dollars into the economy. They have very little control over where those dollars.
So what he's saying is that they're going to consolidate. All right. Basically, his whole video for the most part was explaining where we are in the banking system. Basically, your regions, your Bank of America, these banks that you go to pull out your money, they have to report to a central banking system. This is why interest rates are so important, because when they raise interest rates, they're raising interest rates on the loans that they give to these banks, all right, which has a trickle down effect. Now, what he's saying is that basically the central bank is going to consolidate. So instead of you going to a regions, instead of you going to a Bank of America, instead of you going to these different institutions, you're going to go directly to your central bank via an app, is what he's saying. But we know and understand that eventually it's going to result in a mark that you're going to receive in your right hand or your forehead. All right. And this is the consolidation of power. All right. And he talked about the ones who have control of this are the ones who are going to be on the top of this system. All right. Now you hear multiple guys, especially financial guys, talk about this upper echelon. All right. Now I got another video that I want to show where another guy, all right, he's an investor. And I can get some homework on him as well. But he is very notable for bringing out information concerning social media, all right, and how that system has basically indoctrinated the youth. It made them addicted, all right. But he's gonna say something that's very important that lambacks off of this point that this guy just made, all right. And this guy's name is Causeth All. And I'm just gonna get the video. All right.
There's about 150 people that run the world. Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all fucking puppets. Okay? There are 150, and they're all men that run the world. Period. Full stop. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. And these are not the tech entrepreneurs. Now, they are going to get rolled over the next 5 to 10 years by the people that are really underneath pulling the strings. And when you get behind the curtain and see how that world works, what you realize is it is unfairly set up for them and their progeny. Now, I'm not going to say...
Now, he said it's unfairly set up for them and their progeny. All right. Now, we get that word progeny. It says this: a descendant or the descendants of a person, animal, or plant, offspring. So this is Esau. All right. This is Esau setting up a system that's unfairly set up for his progeny. All right. And when we deal with this system, it's only dealing with the elite, if you will, of his own people. Not even all of his people will partake in the control of this system. All right. This is where the world is heading. These are people who are smart according to the definition of this world. All right. And they're able to understand and see that this system is not built even for them. All right. What he said was very important. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to run it back one more time.
There's about 150 people that run the world. Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all fucking puppets. Okay? There are 150, and they're all men that run the world. Period. Full stop. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. And these are not the tech entrepreneurs. Now, they are going to get rolled over the next 5 to 10 years by the people that are really underneath pulling the strings. And when you get behind the curtain and see how that world works, what you realize is it is unfairly set up for them and their progeny. Now, I'm not going to say that that's something that we can rip apart, but first order of business is I want to break through and be at that table. That's the first order of business. And the way that I do that is by proving that I can do what they do as well as they do it. And then do it better.
Now again, you know, these guys who bring out this information, they don't have the full picture. So they see this information, they see what's coming down the pipeline, and they have their own ideas about how they're going to be saved from this situation. But the point that he brought out was extremely important, is that 150 people run the world. Now, when you deal with who this guy actually is, all right, and I want to just go to it. We're just going to do a quick Google search on this guy. I believe he's a billionaire. And that shows you that money isn't necessarily power. All right. Now this is him, and I'll just get his Wikipedia page. All right, he's a Canadian and American venture capitalist, engineer, sponsor, founder, CEO, yada yada yada. All right, but he deals in finances. All right, so he's one of those guys who's privy to the financial world. All right, let me see something. Yep. So he is a billionaire. All right. It says, and 9 other new billionaires minted by the SPAC frenzy. So this guy's a billionaire, and he acknowledges that there's 150 people that sit on top of the food chain. All right. That as much money as he may accumulate, he still can't get into that room. And that's the second part of that video that I stopped, where he discusses trying to get at that table, sit in that table, because you can't sit at that table. That table is reserved for the elites of Esau Edom, and your money can't get you into that room. But there's a huge difference between money and power. All right. And we're about to see that as Esau begins to consolidate his system and give more power to the ones who are on top than the average Joe. This is why even Joe six packs are losing at this point, because Esau is removing that commonwealth. Okay. When the scriptures talk about the commonwealth of Israel, that's the commonwealth that we're going to share as a nation of people for being on top of other nations. Esau is taking that from his own people at this point. All right. And that's why this guy said that 150 people rule the world, and it's unfairly set up for them and their progeny, meaning their children, their descendants, not even the rest of these Edomites, just them and their family. All right. Now I want to go back to that first part of his video one more time.
There's about 150 people that run the world. Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all fucking puppets. Okay? There are 150, and they're all men that run the world, period, full stop. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. And these are not the tech entrepreneurs. Now, they are going to get rolled over the next 5 to 10 years by the people that are really underneath pulling the strings. And when you get behind the curtain and see how that world works, what you realize is it is unfairly set up for them and their progeny. Now,
all right, so he said it's unfairly set up for them and their progeny. All right, this is Psalms chapter 17 and verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword, from men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. Now, when you deal with Rothschild, all right, he dealt very closely with his sons as far as passing on this mindset and this legacy. All right, that legacy has continued through this banking system. And what they're explaining in so many words is that that banking system is about to translate from this fiat currency physical system to a digital system. And one of the most important pieces of that system is going to be that incision. This is all the infrastructure. When they're talking about the 150 people that rule the world, they're establishing the networks, the 5G, they're establishing the infrastructure to roll this system out. But eventually that incision is going to have to be one of the foundations of their ability to control people. All right. Because when you deal with the CBDCs, they're smart contracts, meaning they can program your wallet to only shop at certain stores if they choose to, or they can cut your wallet off. When you deal with China and the social credit system, if your social credit score is a certain number, you can't even travel in China. When you deal with corporations right now, they have what's called ESGs. All right. And I'll just get this really quick. So when you deal with ESGs, it's this. It says environmental, social, and governance. All right. And that's basically a social credit score for corporations. All right. And all of these things, all right, I know it's a lot, but all of these things are really leading us into that place where the scriptures told us they would lead us to. And that's that beast system, that image being rolled out, and then eventually that incision being mandated. All right. And those who don't take it are going to be killed, whether they're physically killed or whether they're removed from the system because you're locked out of it, because you refuse to take it. The same type of pressure that they put on people during C-19 is going to be applied to this system. All right. And most people are going to fold because when you can't go to Regions and Bank of America and all of these different places to access your funds, when you have to go to your nearest central bank, most people are going to fold because again, it's about the quick comfort instead of the long-term integrity. All right, because we're coming into an hour of temptation where our people especially are going to have to choose who they trust more, either Esau or this system and or I'm sorry, Esau in this system or Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, and this is how Esau is making it tough. All right, he's creating this system where people are feeling the pressure right now with everything going up but the check. All right, people are starting to feel that pressure. And that's what Esau is doing to gradually make people ask for this system. Okay. Now I have another video. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right. So I'm going to go to this video here and I'm going to start around I think it's like 2442.
Campaign, a meme campaign to make it happen.
And he's going to explain some of these things as well. All right. How the WEF plays into this.
Power, but they don't want the power to be located in the hands of people. They actually want the people.
That was unscathed or relatively unscathed. It was kind of like useless because the parts of it had been destroyed, so it was sort of like scrap metal basically. And so that frightened NATO. That's why this war hasn't expanded, but it was supposed to expand, and that's what's really interesting and really scary. These guys are playing with fire. They're not fucking around. And this whole Pelosi thing of going to China, for instance, it's just part of this whole thing. Or do you see it different, or how do you see it?
I mean, there's the possibility that Pelosi's going and trying to make some kind of a deal for herself to enrich herself, of course. But
I think that's the second tier reason. But yeah, it's there.
The degradation of the West in comparison to the global East and the global South. They want power, but they don't want the power to be located in the hands of people. They actually want the people to be largely disenfranchised, I think. The goal is to have.
Don't they realize that their own power rests on the fact that the people are holding them aloft?
Well, that depends on what they believe about their own technological capabilities. I mean, when we read the World Economic Forum papers, what they write, they think that we're on the cusp of total automation and people becoming largely useless eaters who become dead weight, not something that holds up their power.
I heard Yuval Hariri, that guy, the guy.
Yeah.
That guy
Yuval
is scary.
Harari. He is the most anti-human writer I've ever read.
Yes,
it's very. I mean, he writes this book *Sapiens*. It was an extremely popular bestseller. There's
it was
all these people.
By the way, it was astroturfed. I can tell you.
Well, it's like if you. I don't know if you've read it, but it's literally, it's like, here's this thing that happened like 50,000 years ago in human history, and we don't know what caused it, but it was probably how bad humans are. And here's this thing that happened like 30,000 years ago, and we don't know what caused it because it's 30,000 years ago and there's no records, but it's probably how terrible humans are. Humans were setting fire to forests just to destroy them and their enemies and things. 30,000. I mean, it's just humans suck, humans suck, humans suck. And then he follows this up with the next book called Homo Deus. So we're not Homo sapiens anymore. We're not Homo economicus or whatever. We're now moving into an era of human gods. And it's all technological enhancement and transhumanist nonsense. And
but it's not
scary guy.
It's only some humans,
Well, now this is the important point. This is the important point that he's making. All right, because when you deal with Yuval Harari, all right, let's go to it. And brothers have did many videos on him. All right. Apostles have done videos. Elders have done videos on this guy, but he's one of the advisors to Klaus Schwab of the WEF. All right. He's one of those guys who brings out a lot of information about transhumanism. Now, one of the terms that this guy just used was, let me see if I can. Yeah, Homo Deus, which basically breaks down to human God. All right. So let's get the meaning. All right. says Homo Deus, meaning and implications. Now, if we jump down, it says this. Let's start here. It says Harari predicts that biological enhancement will just be the first step toward the godlike status of Homo Deus. All right, so Homo Deus breaks down the human gods. All right, so this whole system, all right, is Esau trying to usurp the blessing, all right, through technology. All right, even the system that he's putting out, the mark, all of these things involve the system of technology, all right, which is what Esau is using as a vehicle, all right, to take over, all right, to essentially take his blessing, all right, try to take his blessing back, all right, because he sold it, and now he's trying to get it back through technology, all right. He's setting himself up as God. This is why the scriptures say this, all right. 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Yahweh by Shai, or that is worshipped, so that he as power sitteth in the temple of power, showing himself that he is power. And he's using technology to do this. All right. That's why the system involves a higher bandwidth as far as internet. All right. Dealing with the 5G network. All right. Because again, you're going to go from self-driving cars and all of these different things. But ultimately, at the end of the tunnel, at the bottom of the rabbit hole, it's a few Edomites who are in control and have godlike ability through technology. That's the goal. That's the aim. In a nutshell, it's Esau trying to get his birthright back through technology, through the flesh, through carnal means. All right. And that's why this is a war. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. This is a mindset. All right. And ultimately, the Lord is going to destroy this mindset. All right. And these Edomites, the ones at the top of the food chain, actually believe these things. See, most of the normal people of this society believe that these things are far-fetched, that these things can't happen. All right. But we understand through the spirit that these things are going to happen. All right. Esau is not playing. He's playing. And if he is playing, he's playing for keeps. All right. This is why the scriptures say this as well, because he is going to be destroyed for this. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And that's exactly what's happening. That's why Esau is taking down brothers' channels, taking down videos, because we're able to give the perspective, all right, the full perspective, not just pieces of the puzzle. Alex Jones can only give you a piece of the puzzle. Glenn Beck can only give you a piece of the puzzle. All right, even the videos that we've saw today on this lesson, they can only give you a piece of the puzzle. All right, the scriptures talk about the prophets being able to give the full scope of what's actually happening on the earth. All right, beginning with our apostles on down. And that's exactly what's happening. The wicked are being revealed, and the Lord is consuming them with the spirit of his mouth. And their intentions are being made public. All right, the scriptures say their own tongue will fall upon themselves. And that's exactly what you have happening. All right, when you deal with the CBDCs, all of these things is Esau consolidating power, but it's a very real situation. All right, and this is why our apostles and elders tell us about these things, and they exhorted us to deal in prophecy. All right, because these things are important. This is a major prophecy that the Lord prophesied would happen, that he gave to us as a nation of people, a window into the future. And what you find out is that Esau has this God complex. All right. This is why this guy Harari talks about Homo Deus, which is basically being a human God through technology. All right. This is their mindset. And the things that Esau is working to do through technology, the Lord's going to give to his men. Lord willing, we be a part of that number in the twinkling of an eye. But this is the scenario that we're in. When you talk about the worst case scenario, these are the people with power. All right, these guys who write books about being a God in human form through technology. And they're going to cause all, both small and great, to receive a mark. And that mark, all right, is going to be how you access your funds, your money, all right, how you are identified, how they can track you. Because Esau's goal at the end of the food chain is to be Homo Deus, all right? Again, it says this, the creation the creation of Homo Deus will likely be the result of a small elite group of people upgrading their bodies and brains with technology, creating a more powerful biological caste. All right. And when you deal with a caste, that's basically like a class of people. Like you have the rich of this world, that's a caste. All right. So basically, they're saying that their wet dream is to be these biological gods on earth through technology, these biotech gods. But in order for them to do that, they have to keep you in control. You got to be in control first. And how are they going to keep you in control? Through the mark. They're not going to give you this type of technology. That's not the intention. All right. Again, it says the creation of Homo Deus will likely be the result of a small elite group of people upgrading their bodies and brains with biotechnology, creating a more powerful biological caste. If this comes to pass, the experiences of Homo Deus and Homo sapiens will be inherently different and unrelatable. All right, they're basically trying to be gods on earth through technology, which is something that was promised to Jacob. Without technology, we're going to get the non-GMO form of this. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. All right. It says again, or continuing, for example, if a Homo Deus has a chip implanted into their brain that allows them to access data from the internet, the way they experience the world is going to be completely different from the average human. And that is the goal. That is the intention. All right. This guy is a lead advisor to Klaus Schwab, who is the founder, all right, of the World Economic Forum. The same guy who said that you're going to own nothing and still be happy. All right. When you look up the feudal system, this is exactly what that is. All right. It's an example of the feudal system, but it's with technology. All right. As a matter of fact, this is a beautiful article. So before I lose place of it, I'm going to just put it in the chat. But I want to go into because this is basically what they're doing through technology. They're creating a feudal system. All right. It says the political, military, and social system in medieval Europe based on the holding of lands in fief or fee and on the resulting relations between lord and vassal. That's what this is returning to. All right. You're not going to have the capitalist system where you can just work your way up and you can become a rich. Nah. They creating a system where you have lords and then you have servants. Because a vassal, all right, when you go into it, it's basically a servant. Definition of vassal: a holder of land by feudal tenure or conditions of homage and allegiance. All right. Similar: liege, man, bondsman, serf, helot. All right. And that reminds me of this article that I had that I brought out a few years back that I want to touch again. And this is from one of the guys who helped create Facebook. All right. And this is what he said. All right. He says Sean Parker says wealth disparity will create a class of immortal overlords. This is the desire of their heart. All right. Deep down inside, this is what they desire. They desire to rule the world through technology and to have a couple of them rule over everybody else. All right. You heard the one video where the guy said that basically they look at the rest of the human population as useless eaters because most things are going to be able to be ran by artificial intelligence, robots, all right, or some kind of automation system. So they're not going to need the majority of people on the planet. This is where the world is going. And most people look at the scriptures like it's far-fetched, but there's nothing far-fetched about this. All of these articles are recent. This is 2017. One of the other ones was 2019. All right. All of these things are recent. So again, let's go down to what he actually said. All right. It says the disparity of wealth in the United States will create a class of immortal overlords. Sean Parker, a billionaire who briefly served as the first president of Facebook, said on Wednesday. Check this out. New advances in the life sciences are allowing humans to live much longer, more productive lives, Parker said during an Axios Cancer Innovation event at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. Because I'm a billionaire, I'm going to I'm going to have access to better healthcare. So I'm going to be like 160, and I'm going to be part of this like class of immortal overlords. So their intention has always been to get the birthright back. That's always been the intention, to take that birthright back. But they're going to use technology to try and do it. All right. And this is why the mark is so important. The mark is so important because it locks everything into the power grid. All right. And this is why the Lord strictly forbade us to take it. All right. Says this. I think that's it on that. All right. So I'm going to go back to Revelation chapter 13. And I'm going to go back to verse 15. All right. And it reads, and he had power to give life into the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So those who don't consent to this religion, all right, because that's what this is. This is a cult. All right. They call it culture, but it's just a popular cult of today. All right. When you deal with the American system, all right, the West, if you will. And what they're doing is they're going to transition this system into a digital system. That's why they talk about the metaverse. All right. That's why they talk about virtual reality. All right. They're enticing the common person to fall into this system. But what you're giving up is freedom. All right. And you're either going to give up your freedom or you're going to be outcasted. And that's why it says, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, either physically or, all right, ostracized by having no access to this system. Okay. When you go into the Greek word, it's a pakteno. All right. And the pakteno says to kill in any way, whatever, to destroy, to allow to perish. And when you go into the root word, it says apo, which means of separation. And our temptation is going to involve a huge separation between those who fear the Lord and those who fear Esau. But what I was able to show you through the Spirit, all right, is that their end goal isn't to help people. Their end goal isn't to make the world a better place. All right. The end of the intention that they have, all right, is to control people. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. And through watching and listening to the interviews of the people who are in control, you can easily see how this push, all right, is going to end up with the mark being the physical RFID charagma, all right, and that at the end of the tunnel, their end game is to be in control, in complete control of the population, to attach themselves to some hybrid internet system and to be able to track people. All right. That's the intention. When you deal with Nate and guys like that, they talk about this. They talk about this by saying it's an embargo act. But there's no news about an embargo act. What you see is a system being built around convenience, peace and safety, and what's actually happening is a ploy for control. All right, the same people who created the fiat system are involved intimately with taking this system into the digital world. And they're going to entice the population by saying, look, you can play Grand Theft Auto in the metaverse. You can buy Nikes for your metaverse avatar. And most people are going to be seduced by this madness. But in the back end, you have guys like Sean Parker who are bold enough to tell you how they really feel. All right, that they want to be a class of immortal overlords. That's the intention. And they're going to use this mark to control how you move. If you speak up against it, they can cut your lights off, literally. But Nate will tell you it's an embargo act. All right, Bishop Nathaniel will tell you this is an embargo act. The mark that he's going to cause all to take. Even when you go into the word mark, it's an incision. All right. Matter of fact, for edification's sake, And this shows you how detailed the Lord is concerning prophecy, that the Lord goes into vast, great detail when it comes to prophecy, but he gives us the general understanding in the scriptures. All right. Now, when we go into this word mark, let's get it. It's charagma. All right. And it says a stamp and imprinted mark. All right. Says of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. All right. It says thing, carved, sculpture, graven work, idolatrous. All right. But when you go into the same, all right, it says a pale or stake, a palisade. All right. A stake. All right. Again, when you go into Strong's definition, it says to sharpen to a point akin through the idea of scratching, a stake, a palisade, or rampart. All right, so this is talking about something physical. All right, this is talking about something physical. But to the pure, all things are pure. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. This is beautiful from Virgin Island Straight Gate. Shalom, beloved. Yahweh Shemal Shah, Bashem Kakadash Brakatah. And shalom to everybody on the comment board. Shalom. Yahweh Shemal Shah, Bashem Kakadash Brakatah. There's 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 3. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. Because the scriptures say wisdom is too high for a fool. And the Lord has only given this understanding to a few of our people. All right, a remnant of our people who have been given that understanding to know the mysteries. These things are a mystery to most of our people because they don't believe that Esau is capable of this kind of darkness because they trust their enemy. But we understand it and we're listening. We're literally watching. We're literally able to read how they really feel about people. And some of this is their own people. How much more so you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? You think they're going to put a chip in? You think they're going to put a charagma in you for your benefit? Nah, man, that ain't the intention. This is their intention. All right, their intention is to steal the birthright. At least that's what they think they're about to do. But they need this system to be rolled out in order for them to do that. And this involves their own people being put into captivity. That's why when you go to the video that I brought out earlier, that guy brought it out very simply and plainly that the CBDCs, all right, which is the central bank digital currency, is going to remove your freedom. You're not going to be free under that type of system. All right. And the guy Hamath talked about 150 people being in complete dominion of the world. The movers, the actual movers and the shakers. All right. And this is the time that we're in where the Lord is beginning to make these things known and plain. And even their own people are beginning to bring out information. All right. Matter of fact, this is Psalm 64 and 8. And it reads, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. All right. And that is their intention. Under the push for convenience. Look, you don't have to carry around a wallet. You don't have to carry around an ID. All you got to do is just take this incision. Just like you took the jump shot. Just take this incision and all of that goes away. You can walk around the streets with just with your sweatsuit on, without no wallet, without no keys. They're going to paint it as a convenience. But really it's a ploy for control. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to control. And eventually it's going to transition it into them attempting to be gods and make everybody else servants, even their own people. All right. So I wanted to go through that. Lord willing, this was edifying with that. You know, and Tawada for tuning in through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemal Shah. You know, I know Friday is a beautiful day through the spirit. You know, a lot of brothers going live, so I do appreciate it through the spirit tuning in. All right, so with that, I want to say Shalom, Yahweh Shemal Shah, Bashem Kakadash Brakatah. All right, want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shemal Shah, Bashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and the sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath who are believing this word, Akwathium who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.